On the seventh day after my father's death, more than 100 members of the sick people's group swarmed in, and the group leader said, "Don't kneel down yet. First give us the medicine." After a short silence, the group leader became impatient. "We've only taken a little from your home. But leaving that aside, you can't just stand by and do nothing. It's been 7 days, and the medicine is finished. It's time to worry." The group leader stood on the altar. In a passionate speech, "The sick people, all we want is to live. Is there anything wrong with wanting to live?" The people behind him raised their hands and shouted, "Yes, yes, yes. My fellow patients. Someone can let us live, but they won't help us when we're dying. What should we do to such people?" The people continued to shout, "Damn, damn, damn." The group leader turned his head, looking down on us. "Are you just going to let us die? Do you just want us to die?" More and more people gathered, pointing and gossiping, as the group members told their stories. "We are all cancer patients. Our family is in a difficult situation. We have been taking a traditional Chinese medicine. But now, he has stopped supplying us with the medicine. He just wants us to die." The group members were enraged. Some were even wiping tears from their eyes. The group leader, like a victorious conqueror, reached out to me. "You see, you still have to be like your father, and keep supplying us with the medicine if you don't want to do it. Just hand over the prescription. That's fine." This tactic of moral blackmail combined with a vulnerable blow to the heart has worked very well in the past. Unfortunately, I'm not my father. I'm not like him. A doctor's heart is merciful. My blood has been cold since the day my father died. That day was also the day when more than 100 people blocked my door. The group leader was banging on the door while crying and wailing, "Let's go see Master Wu the healer. Master Wu the healer, you have a good journey." My mother was soft-hearted. Even though she knew my father would not rest in peace, she still opened the door. In that moment, the group leader shouted as he held the door shut, "Grab the medicine." They ransacked the house, and the place was in a mess. The doors and windows were removed and thrown on the ground. The bed collapsed. The table was ruined. The medicinal herbs were crushed. All of my father's treasured medical books were torn up. Everything that could be moved was taken away. And this was only 7 days ago. A face is a good thing. You can do without it when you don't need it, and pick it up when you need it. Friends, if he doesn't hand over the recipe, we're not leaving. We'll die here, and see if anyone cares. The group leader took the lead and sat in the middle of the funeral hall. The others followed suit and sat on the floor, blocking half the pavement. The police station sent someone. There were sports days in the city these days. Security was on a 24-hour shift. The police officers were all wearing dark circles under their eyes from staying up so late. Dispersed. Couldn't disperse. The police had no choice but to drive everyone into my courtyard. There wasn't enough room to stand, so some of them crowded into the funeral hall. It was packed. At least from the outside, it didn't look out of place. "Comrade police officer, I'll take the initiative to report the situation to you." The group was speaking with conviction. "We are all poor people, suffering from cancer. Some are in the terminal stage for many years. We are just hanging on. We are sick. Thanks to the care and help from all walks of life, with the assistance of kind people, our condition has been well controlled. For the construction of our society to reach a higher level." The police impatiently interrupted him. Okay. What are you talking about? Here comes the report. What are you doing gathered here?" The group leader said shyly, "I was about to report to this part. We, the sick, gathered here today. Not for anything else. To seek justice. To seek justice in court. And come to someone's funeral to seek justice. No, you don't understand. It's him." The group leader pointed at me. "He's the murderer who killed us all." The police officer looked at me. I haven't slept for days at the funeral. My face is covered in greasy ashes. My dark circles are bigger than a panda's. I suddenly felt a bit of empathy. "Aren't you all still alive? How did he kill you all? Are you really alive or dead?" After the founding of the People's Republic of China, no one is allowed to become a ghost. We're still alive. But because of him, we're going to die soon. The group leader reached out to hug the policeman, but the policeman deftly avoided him and blocked him with his baton. Okay, I won't ask you anymore. You're full of nonsense." The policeman walked up to me. "Comrade, please stand up and talk. My legs are really numb." "Comrade, are you the owner of this place?" I nodded. "The house belongs to my father. He just passed away. I'm holding his funeral. My condolences." "What's wrong with these people? Why do you say you want to kill them?" "I don't know. Last week, when my father just died, they suddenly broke into my house and smashed and looted everything they could find. And today they broke in again. and demanded from me some kind of recipe. Or else they said they would kill me. That's right. Last week I even called the police. Why haven't you arrested them yet? The policeman was a little embarrassed. These days there aren't enough police officers to take care of all the cases of people looting things at funerals. What recipe do you want? The policeman asked the group leader again. The recipe for curing cancer. We've been taking that medicine for years. And now the man is dead. And he won't make the medicine for us. So I had to ask him for the recipe. Now do you understand? Officer, you have the recipe for curing cancer. I quickly waved my hands to deny it. How could I have the recipe for curing cancer? I'm just an ordinary student. My father is just an ordinary person. You need to go to the hospital to cure cancer. What's the point of asking me? Officer comrade, don't listen to him. The group leader became agitated again. His father is a family doctor who makes a kind of pill that has miraculous effects against cancer. More than 100 of us have been taking it for years. It's cheaper and more effective than going to the hospital. We want him to continue supplying us with the medicine right now. We don't have any other requests. The family doctor sounded familiar. The policeman pondered for a long time and then slapped his thigh in realization. Wasn't this the case that the municipal police and the Food and Drug Administration had collaborated on and shut down last month? Yes. Police officer, I raise my hand. This is the place that was shut down. My father was reported for producing and selling fake medicine, practicing medicine illegally, and was arrested on the spot. If it weren't for my father's exhaustion, he would have died long ago, and would have been sentenced by now. Oh. The police officer looked at the group leader, and then at the crowded funeral hall. Did it really work after you took it? It did. Many people nodded. Since it was fake medicine, it was probably just some tonic that made you feel effective and cheated you out of your money. We've encountered this situation many times. You should still go to a regular hospital for treatment. And taking medicine indiscriminately has very strong side effects. An old woman in the crowd shouted, "There are no side effects. I've been taking it for 20 years. The hospital says I'm a cancer miracle. How much does it cost to take this medicine once? It's very expensive, isn't it?" Many people have been cheated out of their fortunes by fake medicine. It used to be 3 yuan a pill. The price has gone up this year. 3.50 a pill. How many do you take a day? I only take one a day. According to you, 3.50 a day can cure cancer. Right. The policeman put his arms akimbo and yelled, "Foolish. A quack doctor has solved the world's medical problems. You're joking. If there really was such an effective medicine, I'd be the first to arrest and execute the person who reported it." There was complete silence. I tugged the policeman's trousers. "Uncle policeman, they're the ones who reported my father." The policeman was dumbfounded, looking left and right, in great puzzlement. "You mean?" "No, I won't ask you." The policeman turned to the group leader and asked, "You took his father's medicine for decades, and then reported him and robbed the family. And now they want him to continue selling the medicine to you." The group leader said excitedly, "Yes. He has to sell it. Otherwise we'll be dead. I don't understand. If you need your father's medicine, why did you report him? Didn't you just kill your own livelihood?" The group leader said, "It's a different matter. We reported him out of justice. His father was selling medicine illegally and practicing medicine illegally. So as law-abiding citizens, we of course had to report him, but since his father promised to supply us with medicine, then he must do it. If he can't, then his son or grandson must do it. Isn't that reasonable?" The police officer muttered to himself. Illegal selling of medicine must be reported. Promise to supply medicine and must be kept. Report to prevent him from selling medicine. Prevent him from selling medicine and he must sell medicine. Lou, do you understand? Why do I feel like I'm in a play? The young police officer next to me said, "I understand what's going on, but I really don't understand the reasoning." "If you don't understand, just forget it," the police officer said. "There are so many of you. You are not allowed to gather without permission. Leave now, or come with me to the police station." A small group of people opened the door and ran. "What are you waiting for?" "Waiting to be detained at the police station." Another small group of people ran. The old woman came running and said to the police officer, "I'm running out of medicine. My old arms and legs. I didn't get many last time. I don't feel well anywhere. Can you let the young man give me some medicine to last me a few days?" The police officer looked at me. I spread my hands. "I don't know how to make medicine. I'm not a doctor. I don't have a license either." The old woman pointed at me and yelled, "How come you don't know how? I've seen you make pills for Dr. Wu. You know the recipe and the process. Give me some. I'm innocent. I helped my father with the work. But that was an assignment from school. Social practice, and can I do something illegal?" "Police officer. Can I do it?" The police officer said impatiently. Go to the hospital if you're sick. Everything has to follow the law. The old woman yelled. Are you trying to kill me? Your father is heartless. You're even more heartless than he is. How much do you want? I'll give you all my funeral savings, okay? Comrade policeman. He's just trying to get a big payout. Arrest him. Tell him he has to make 100,000 pills for each of us before we let him go. 100,000 pills. The policemen looked at each other. 100,000 pills. He can do it. Can you finish them all? I can finish them all. The woman patted her chest. You said yourself 1 pill a day. That's only 36,000 pills in 100 years. You can't live 300 years by eating 100,000 pills. Me. The woman did some quick calculations with her fingers. Let's make it 10,000. I want to live for another 10 years. I'm only 85 this year. My mother lived to be 94. I want to live 1 year longer than her, so you let him make me 10,000. Not one less. The police officer was speechless. The young police officer had some common sense. He stopped the woman and stepped back. As he stepped back, he said, Ma'am, I think you should go to the hospital. The hospital is a proper place. Folk remedies are unreliable. Eating them is bad for your health. Pushing and pushing, until they were in the middle of the crowd, and he couldn't push anymore. The police officer said to the group leader, You're the ringleader, right? Now disperse these people immediately. The group leader stubbornly said, Then you tell him to write an undertaking. To give us the medicine on time and in the correct dosage. Let me tell you. No one has the right to make the people write an undertaking. I'm warning you again. Disperse these people immediately. The group leader helplessly waved his hand and left my house with the rest of the people. Comrade, I can see that you're not very old. You still need to study hard and obey the law. You should not inherit your family's trade. Take this as a warning. My condolences. The flowers and plants in the yard were trampled a few days ago. A few of the hardy ones finally managed to sprout. Today they were trampled again. They are completely dead. But I don't care about that. I no longer want my father to do this business. He is bursting with idealism. He is so moved that he can't help himself. He was buried in the cemetery in the northern suburbs. No one visits him. During his lifetime, he saved countless patients and allowed those who had been sentenced to death by machines and indicators to live for a few years to decades. But they didn't thank my father, and even wished him an early death. They got their wish. My father's spiritual belief collapsed when the Food and Drug Administration and the police came to the door. He couldn't understand why saving lives and helping the sick would be hated so much. He was still buried by the people he saved with his own hands. He was so angry that he collapsed on the layers of herbs being dried in the sun. Buried half his body by the shriveled plants he had loved all his life. Moments later he was taken to the police car. He died in the car after just a short drive. Because his blood pressure rose. The police showed me the video to prove that they had not beaten or even bumped into him. My father died suddenly. And they were just carrying out the law enforcement procedures because no verdict had been passed. My father was still considered an innocent citizen at the time of his death. It can only be described as an unexpected blessing in misfortune. In the video, my father suddenly collapsed with his hands over his heart. And the police officer next to him performed first aid on him. The police officer said, My father kept mumbling something after he got into the car, and stopped when he died suddenly. He said, Great kindness is like great enmity. He finally understood. The more than 100 sick people he saved, every single pill he gave them, was eaten with hatred. Because my father died. The process of manufacturing and selling fake medicine and practicing medicine illegally also came to an end. He retained his innocence in the world. Although it didn't mean much. He was typical of his generation, and valued spiritual satisfaction above all else. A pill. Cost how much? He sold as many as he could. If the other party was short of cash, he would simply give it away for free. Later, when my mother really couldn't afford to buy food, we had nothing but cabbage and tofu for meals. And I was malnourished. My father agreed to stop giving it away for free. And instead we exchanged IOUs. Last winter, there was a fierce cold wave, with snowstorms everywhere. And the price of medicinal herbs soared. My father did the math. A pill went up 50 cents. This should be the trigger for reporting it, right? I stood in front of the tombstone. And I could never understand. Even though my father could have given my mother and I a better life, he didn't hesitate to use it to satisfy his hypocritical and illusory sense of charity. I don't hate him. And I don't love him. When the house was confiscated, my mother didn't stop the vicious sick friends. And was knocked over. Her head hit the corner of the table and fainted. After the funeral was over, she was still lying in the hospital. This was the last gift my father gave her. Leaving the cemetery, I went to the hospital to discharge my mother. She needed to rest. But I don't think the house in our family can be quiet. So I had to take her to the house I rented first. Then, I went back to the old house to pack up what little was left of my inheritance. In the future, I'll probably sell the old house. I pushed open the door, and someone called out to me from behind. The voice was familiar. It sounded annoying. Little miracle doctor. I really didn't want to turn around. The group leader chased after me with a smile. He got to the courtyard before me, and said to me, "Come in. Don't be polite." "That's fine. I was just looking for him." Little miracle doctor. Let's discuss it. Big event. Good news. You must be happy. My father just died. I'm happy. Little miracle doctor. We have to look forward. There's a good thing right in front of us. The group leader looked left and right, looking for a chair but couldn't find one, and sat on the stone mortar for pounding medicine. He said, "Let me introduce myself. My name is Joe Lay. I'm the group leader of the Sick Friends group." "I know. I recognize you. Go ahead. What's the good news?" "Let's join forces. You produce. I'll sell. We'll split 50 to 50. 3.5. That's 1.75 for each of us. Are you stupid? 3.5 won't even pay for a bowl of wonton noodles for the rest of your life. Don't be like your father. This place is no good." Joe Lay pointed at the ceiling. "How much are they selling for?" 100. 100 for one. Let me do the math for you. Joe Lay picked up a cinnamon stick and drew on the ground. There are more than 190 people in the group of sick people, excluding some family members. There are 160 people who are actually sick. Each person takes one a day. That's 160. That's 4,800 a month. That's 58,400 a year. 100 for one. That's 5.84 million a year. If we split it equally, each of us would earn 2.92 million a year. How about it? At your age, how many people can earn $1 million a year? Earning 100,000 a year is already considered exceptional. Earning 2.92 million a year is more than my father earned in his entire life. 100 each. Can you sell them? Heh heh heh. I told you were stupid. 100 each is only 3,000 a month. 3,000 for a month's life. Would you buy it if you had to stay in the hospital for 2 days and get all kinds of tests done? It's possible that you'll be out in just a few tens of thousands of dollars. When people want to live, they don't care about the price. I've seen a family beg for medicine with my own eyes. The man, upon meeting me, knelt down and kowtowed. When people want to live, they don't care about money. They don't even care about human dignity. Moreover, if your father couldn't do it, I can. Joe Lay looked at me proudly. What is it? I have connections for getting a permit. I can register this medicine as legal and sell it openly and honestly. It goes in the pharmacy. It goes in the pharmacy. It goes on the internet. It goes on the internet. Invoice issued. Taxes paid. No more worries from now on. No matter who reports it, it's useless. His expression was confident. It seemed certain that I had no choice. If I were just a bystander, I should admire him. Think about it. I'll come back in a couple of days. Remember, I'm the only one who can make you that much money. Don't be stupid and give the formula to the state. Joe Lay walked to the door. I stopped him. What if I don't agree? When you die of illness, I can still sell it myself and make even more money. He smiled with an uncontainable joy. I'm not sick. How could I die of illness? Who told you I have cancer? After that, he made an extremely weak and desperate look. His mouth slightly open, his eyes vacant, as if waiting to die, pretending not to know. He said, "Oh, in order to let you thoroughly consider, and avoid regretting it in the future, and cause unnecessary trouble for both of us, I still need to tell you." He turned around, and gave me a slight bow. "Report your father." I told them to do it. I said your father has raised 50 cents. Do you know how much more they can be cheated? 29,200 a year? 50 cents on each of them is only 182.50 a year. But they are so angry that it feels like everyone has been cheated 29,000. The revenge is so effective. And the love in his eyes as he got down on one knee to propose to me. And the deep affection as we fell asleep in each other's arms, vowing to grow old together. Everything was so beautiful and unforgettable. But in the end, all the happy images were condensed into their terrified faces, and their bodies, twisted on the ground, in a tragic death. The past overlaps, all kinds of differences. But there is a strange sameness. The more I think about it, the more I feel something is wrong. I quickly got up. My father did not die in vain. And he did not die at the hands of these people. Night fell. I packed up the rest of the things from the old house that I wanted to move, and lit 3 joss sticks in the courtyard. After they were finished burning, I put my father's portrait in a box. That night, there was a lot of grumbling in the group of sick people. Some people didn't have much medicine left, and wanted to find someone to transfer some to them. But no one was willing. Some people had hoarded a lot, and said they could transfer it to others for a fee in private. but because the price was too high, were greeted with insults in the group. 3.5 bought. 2,000 for transfer. You are more of a dog than a capitalist's dog. More people expressed their dissatisfaction. Dr. Wu is gone. His son doesn't get along with us. Who will get the medicine in the future? The group leader, say something. You said that as long as you report Dr. Wu, he will lower the price. Don't dare rip us off at Zhou Lei. We just want to get the medicine cheaper. We can get the medicine. People's lives are at stake. Does anyone care anymore? I'll recognize whoever gets me the medicine. I'm putting my reputation on the line. Anyone who's capable can take it. Dr. Wu is also to blame. He had to raise prices. But in the end, he got himself killed by the price hike. I really don't know if that's considered retribution. You're right. My money is also money. Everyone's money is also money. Do you have to be that greedy for 50 cents? You'll die before you can spend all that money. Haha. My father asked me to join the patient group. He doesn't have time to mess with computers. And wouldn't let me sneak into the group to observe which patients had problems, so that he could tell me at any time. In case someone suddenly had a seizure, he could prepare the herbs in advance. If he knew that his friends were evaluating him like this, I guess he would jump out of the coffin. My mother rested for a few days and came out of her grief, taking the initiative to cook and clean the house. Seeing her wanting to say something but holding back, I knew what she wanted to ask. I told her, "Don't worry. I won't carry on my father's legacy. I have no interest in healing the sick. I just want to properly honor you and live the rest of our lives together." My mother was very happy and even ate an extra bowl of rice. She had no more wishes in this life, except that I not follow in my father's footsteps. But living the rest of our lives together is not that simple. The first thing is that we need money. A lot of money. My father is already dead. Even if I killed everyone in his cancer support group, he would not come back to life. The only thing he left me was a collection of family recipes that had been handed down for many generations. It's been more than a month like this, and I've noticed that there are always some strange people around the house. They can stay from morning till night and do nothing but keep staring at my house. My mom also said that she always feels like someone is following her when she goes out, but when she turns around, she can't find anyone. It seems like she's just being paranoid. The quarrels in the group of sick friends are getting more and more intense. Those with medicine and those without have formed camps, and they curse at each other. But once someone mentions my dad, everyone's targets will instantly be unified. Finally, someone said they wanted to kill me and my mother. Since we were going to die without medicine, they might as well take us all down with them. As I read the increasingly terrifying words in the chat box, I clicked on Zhou Lei's phone number. He had called me several times in the past month, and I had always used the excuse that my mother was sick and I had to take care of her. He was becoming increasingly impatient on the phone. Unlike the first time we met in the courtyard, it was obvious. The insults in the sick friends group had put a lot of pressure on him. He urgently needed to renew the medicine at this time. Otherwise, if someone dies from the disease, the group will probably disband. In the courtyard of my hometown, Zhou Lei was very surprised by my proposal. He walked around the courtyard 3 times before he could stammer out a sentence. "You're still the best." I said seriously. "I make medicine, and there are costs. I want 60%. Zhou Lei didn't hesitate to agree, but said, "You probably haven't thought about selling at this price if something goes wrong. It won't end well." I said, "It's fine. You can legalize the medicine, can't you? Once it's legal, it's a commodity. It's our right to set the price." Zhou Lei frowned and said, "That's true. But legalization requires the involvement of legitimate pharmaceutical companies. They will also influence the price. It will take time. As you say, I'm afraid that by the time this is done, 160 people will have died of old age, and there will be no new patients to replace them. I don't care. That's your problem. If you think it's too expensive, you can sell it for whatever price you like. I want 300 yuan per pill, not a penny less." Zhou Lei stared coldly at me. I already feel fucking black enough. 100 a pill. I'm doing this with all my courage. You're not young. You've got a lot of temper. Dare to sell for 500 a pill. You've got guts. Much better than your father. I've never had a bowl of chicken soup since I was a kid. My father selflessly gave all his money away. I hate him to the bone. Just tell me if you'll do it or not. If not, I'll find someone else. Do you know your father's techniques? Can you do them? Don't say you can't. Then it would really be fake medicine. Don't worry. I've seen it done since I was a child. I can do it with my eyes closed. Try these pills. Are they real? I handed him a few pills. He looked at them and smelled them, and took a piece and put it in his mouth. It was bitter. His face twitched. They were indeed identical. But how can you guarantee that you made them? Maybe they were left over from your father? If you don't believe me, I'll show you now. I brought the herbs. And my father's tools are still left in the corner of the yard. I tried my best to imitate his manner. Where to sit. Where to put the medicine. What to do first. What to do next. After a set of operations, the wet pills are presented in front of me. They are still damp. Let them dry for a few days. Jolie looks at me suspiciously. I also look at him. He picks up a pill and smells it. It's still wet. So you can't smell it. Don't worry. Don't worry. It must be real. I can't lie to you. We're partners. I couldn't help my face flushing. My eyes wandered away on their own. Jolie pulled a pocket knife out of his pocket. What are you doing? Killing me won't get you the recipe. I shouted. He ignored me. He cut open the pill. He looked at it. Then he put it down. He then cut open the pill next to it. What are you doing? Don't you believe me? I swear this is all true. My pale explanation came to an abrupt end. After the fourth pill was cut open, the inside was obviously different from the first three. The inside of these three was also wet. Why was the inside of this one completely dry? Jolie's question left me unable to answer. There was silence. He yanked my arm up and shook it a few times. A few pills fell out of my sleeve. He picked one up and cut it open. The inside was dry, just like the fourth one. I said, "Why are you wearing such baggy clothes? It turns out you're hiding something." Jolie laughed. "Heir to the divine healer, it turns out you're a magician." I was embarrassed. "You're not going to say anything, are you? Then I'll say it for you." Jolie paced back and forth. "The ones in your sleeves and the fourth one are the real pills left by your father. The ones you made yourself are fake. You were afraid I would inspect them. So when I wasn't looking, you slipped in a few real ones while rubbing the pills together. That's why the honey on your hands got on them. You can't tell from the outside, but the ones your father left you were long since dried. The ones you just made are definitely damp. How am I doing?" I hung my head, ashamed. A carefully planned scheme had come to nothing. Childish. You're still too inexperienced. Jolie said. "I knew from the moment I entered that you couldn't make your father's medicine. I even suspected that you hadn't even read the prescription. Or maybe there was no prescription at all." I whispered. "How did you figure it out?" Jolie laughed aloud. "It's very simple. You brought honey. Honey is the binder for the pills. But you brought this one. It's translucent. And clean. And obviously common acacia honey from the market. I once secretly went through your father's trash. Your father has always used honey from the southern Chinese honey locust tree. This kind of honey is hard to find. Once it arrives in the north, it congeals into a milky white. Like lard. I'm speechless. Do you know how to make it or not? Don't waste my time. I can, but I need some time. I can't read the words in the prescription. I can't read the words. Aren't you a university student? Show it to me. I'm a bit embarrassed. We're on the same side now. I can't just take your recipe. No way. Show me half of it. A Chinese medicine recipe can't be complete without every ingredient. You should know that. I opened my phone. I blocked half of the photo. I handed it to him. "This is seal script." He handed me back my phone. I can't read it either. But I know a few experts in ancient Chinese. You divide the recipe into 4 copies. I'll have each expert translate 1 copy. That way, it won't be leaked. No way. I can look it up myself. In 2 weeks at most. I'll figure out the recipe. In 2 weeks, most people will be dead. Jolie is getting really mad. In that case, aren't you just afraid that I'll know the recipe? I have an idea. Do you know how to use a computer? You can take the words on the recipe that you know and cross them out, leaving only the words you don't know. I'll get the experts to translate the words you don't know. You'll have the complete recipe. I'll only have the incomplete half. Everyone will be happy. I thought about it and said, "Okay." When I got home, I turned on my computer and with a few clicks, covered the illegible words with colored blocks and sent it to Jolie. Jolie sent me a thumbs up emoticon to show his appreciation. So, I ushered in a long wait. Waiting for my recipe to be translated by experts into modern characters I can recognize. Waiting for my recipe to be turned into 500 pills, creating 80,000 yuan a day in wealth. What's strange is, from that day on, the group of sick friends fell silent. And no one said a word, not even the usual morning and evening chicken soup of encouragement. Those fellow patients who wailed all day long seemed to have died collectively and disappeared completely from my world. After a week, I got a little anxious and called and messaged Jolie to hurry things up. He said it was almost done. The words were difficult to recognize, and the expert was working overtime going through ancient texts. After another week, I got a little panicked. Jolie never contacted me on his own initiative. I started calling him like crazy. He either didn't answer, or his phone was switched off. So I sent him a message. First I asked him how the progress was. and whether I needed to discuss it with the experts. No response. I was furious. I sternly ordered him to immediately stop translating the ancient book in my family. If something goes wrong, he can't take the blame. Still no response. I was scared. I begged him not to disclose the seal script. It was a relic from my ancestors. I just wanted to use it to commemorate my ancestors. I just wanted to know what it said. I have never mentioned it to anyone. But your parents and your fiancé have all died in strange circumstances, one after the other. And I think it may be related to this matter. A few years ago, I met your grandfather on the back mountain of our village. And he should be living in seclusion on the back mountain. If you want to know the answer, you can go and ask him. Hearing the old village chief's words, my heart, which had been floating in a fog, seemed to suddenly find a direction. No wonder, since I can remember. I've never heard my parents mention my grandfather. And I've never met my own grandfather. Before, I never thought there was such a thing. I paused and curiously asked, Village chief, didn't you say that there are always fierce beasts appearing in the mountains behind us? Even the young and strong men in our village don't dare to go to the mountains recklessly. Are you sure my grandfather is living alone in seclusion in the mountains? Since I was a child, I've heard people in the village say that the mountains behind us are very scary, and that many people who go up to the mountains, and told my mother I had to go out to take care of something, and wouldn't be back for a while. Downstairs, I waited for the police car to arrive. I told the truth. That day, Jolie had blocked me in front of my home, and said he knew the truth about my father's death after being reported. He said 160 sick people in the group had reported my father for practicing medicine illegally, and selling fake medicine, in order to force him to lower the price of medicine from 3.5 yuan to 3 yuan. This caused my father to be unable to bear the blow, and suddenly die in the police car. Jolie made me believe that he was a good person. He also told me that he was actually not sick, and was just pretending to be a cancer patient because he often spoke up for his sick friends, and became the group leader. I don't know if it's true. The police can take him for a medical examination. His goal in blocking me was to get me to cooperate in selling drugs. But I didn't agree with him. First, he once led a group of sick friends to my house to vandalize and loot. Second, because I couldn't read the ancient books my father left at all. A thick book. My father died suddenly, and didn't tell me which one was the pill for cancer. Jolie said he knew an expert who could help me translate, and asked me to obscure part of the content, to prove that he would not keep it for himself, and said that this was considered atoning to my father. I was also careful, and just took a random photo of the ancient book and sent it to him. I don't know why. He never contacted me again. The police kept asking questions, and I kept answering, because what I said was all true. So there were no holes in my story. I even took the initiative to hand over my phone, and opened the chat history for the police to look at. We added each other on WeChat that day. The first message was from me, P. The second, I said, this is a photo of an expert translation. I don't know what it says either, to keep it a secret. I covered up part of it. This is one of the few relics my father left me. I want to keep it as a memento. Please don't tell anyone. Jolie said, don't worry. I promise I won't read it. And I will never tell anyone. Then there was a 2-week gap. Then came my angry warning, my humble pleas, and Jolie's uncommunicative indifference. What on earth happened? Why did you arrest me? I asked the police. The two policemen glanced at each other. They said, your father had a group of sick friends when he was alive. Is that right? I nodded. Yes. There were nearly 200 people in it. But not all of them were sick friends. No one in this group has spoken since the day after Jolie and I met. You can check. Were you familiar with these sick friends? I shook my head. I was completely unfamiliar with them. I only knew that they had been taking my father's medicine for a few years to 20-some years. But they still reported my father together. I have no desire to get to know them. And I don't want to see them again. You won't see them again. I widened my eyes. What do you mean? They were poisoned and died at almost the same time. A few days apart. I was shocked. Jolie confessed that he used the contents of the ancient book you gave him to make pills, and sold them to those sick friends at high prices. I had no idea. I didn't even know it was a prescription. And I emphasized many times that it was not to be passed on. Jolie also promised. Did you have any agreements to cooperate? To share the spoils together, and so on? Not at all. I swear. My communication records with him, bank transfers, and behavior trails. You can all go check and authenticate. We already have all of this in our grasp. Your parents should have known better than anyone else. But they never told you. Because they didn't want you to feel guilty. And that sentence you've been dwelling on for years was actually just your mother deliberately confusing the issue and taking the blame for herself when she knew their time was up. Hearing this suddenly made sense to me. No wonder my father always valued his life. Ever since I was a child, he's been living cautiously, as if on thin ice. It turns out, he wasn't afraid of dying. I covered up some of the content. If you don't believe me, click to see. The policeman clicked to open the file. It was indeed a photo, and there were several black squares. Are you sure you covered it up? Yes, I said confidently. I manually covered it up with small squares one by one. What software did you use to cover it up? PPT. You can see the file name is just PPT at the end. The two policemen looked at me blankly. I looked at them in confusion. Have you started work yet? I shook my head. Not yet. I'm in my 4th year of university. What's your major? Law. One policeman whispered to the other. Don't law students learn PPT? The other said. I don't think so. Who needs this stuff if you're not working? That's enough. You can go. I walked out of the room. Outside was the corridor. I happened to bump into Jolie, who was passing by in handcuffs. As soon as Jolie saw me, he went crazy. And cursed. Like a son of a bitch. You did it on purpose. You set me up. You tricked me with the PPT. Arrest him. He's the mastermind. He poisoned those 160 people. 2 policemen escorted him. Without slowing down, Jolie disappeared at the end of the corridor. And gradually I couldn't hear his voice anymore. Hey, aren't you the one who handles funerals? No. The son of a shaman. As I turned my head, I ran into the police officer on the 7th day of the funeral. Uncle policeman. You work here? I thought you were at the police station. I came to report for duty. I was just about to go back. Where are you going? I'll follow you. I just want to see you. We recovered some of the items stolen from your home. They were at the station for over a month. We were really busy. We didn't have time to contact you to come and get them. You can come with me. Okay. What did that person I just met do? That person? The police officer looked around and motioned for me to go out first. I got into the car. The policeman said. He was really something. Selling fake medicine and poisoning over 100 people. I remember your father was reported for selling medicine too, right? Look. There still needs to be standardized management of medicine. And when something goes wrong, it's a big deal. I nodded repeatedly. And said. I absolutely will listen to you. And definitely won't inherit my father's business. I will study hard. And work hard. To serve society. That's right. What kind of medicine did he sell? Poisoning so many people. Hey. He got some ancient prescription from somewhere. And made a ton of poison. According to the prescription. And he had a group of people. Who all had cancer. In the group. There were 100 of them. 100 people. That's a lot of people to eat. How dare he? They all died. Not a single one survived. I was amazed. Do you know what was written in the prescription? I immediately shook my head. Radix aconitis lateralis. 10 mace. Amazing. You know Radix aconitis lateralis, right? I continued shaking my head. You don't know, that's right. Your father must have known. That aconite is wolfsbane. Wolfsbane. 0.2 milligrams can kill a person. The amazing thing is that you can buy it at a traditional Chinese medicine pharmacy. 10 qian is 1 money. 1 money is 5 grams. 10 qian is 50 grams. Yes. It's better to write 1 or 2. Then it won't kill people? Not only that. There's also raw panelia, red selenum, and araceae. All 10 cents. Oh my god, they're all highly toxic Chinese herbs. Is this medicine or arsenic? And he sells them for 500 each. My god, that's 15,000 a month for one person, 1.8 million a year. More than 100 people, tens of millions of dollars. That's too much profit. The group leader looks like a victorious conqueror. And extends his hand towards me. You see? You still have to be like your father. And keep providing us with medicine. If you find it troublesome, just hand over the prescription. That's fine. It's such a big deal that it's hard to get a reprieve. Here we are. I'll go get the stuff, you sign first. But I'll declare right away that there wasn't much to recover. I returned home carrying a large snakeskin bag. My mother was sitting in the living room, anxious, and was overjoyed to see me. She kept saying, I heard from the neighbors that you were taken away in a police car. I thought. You thought I was possessed by my father, didn't you? Don't worry. I helped her sit down, opened the locked box under the bed, and took out a cloth bag. I opened it and inside was an old book with an old yellowed piece of paper stuck in it. You've been messing with medicinal herbs lately. And making meatballs every day. I thought you were really going to take over your father's job. What are you doing? My mother was still worried. I said, making meatballs is useful. I have a graduation performance at school, and I'm playing the heir to a famous Chinese medicine doctor. It's a really good scene. I have to pretend to be discovered by the bad guy, so that he lets his guard down and thinks I'm an idiot. Then I make a mistake on purpose, so that he thinks a watermelon has fallen from the sky, and finally dies with a bang. I take a deep breath, and pick up the lighter. Mom, my father was killed by this piece of paper. If he couldn't make these stupid pills, he wouldn't have ended up on the wall. The 2-inch-long flame kept swaying. The dense words danced before my eyes. 1 money of raw aconite. 1 money of raw Pinellia ternata. 1 money of red solanum. 1 money of Araceae. Since it was my father's stuff, I'll let it go with him.